Imagine having a workstation with a view of the Himalayas. Domestic travel and staycation is going to redefine travel in the year 2021. So let's talk about all of that in detail. In conversation on ET Now is Amanpreet Bajaj of Airbnb talking about the top travel trends in 2021. Hi Aman, appreciate you taking your time out and speaking with us today at ET Now. I'm Ruchi Bhatia. Let's first begin by talking about the big travel trends. They say live anywhere or work anywhere seems to be the new mantra as far as people are concerned. After the pandemic, after 2020, the travel industry, of course, has seen an unprecedented times during the pandemic. At the Economic Times Global Business Summit, Brian Chesky had also said that the pandemic will irreversibly alter the travel industry. I want to first begin by asking you, where are we at this stage, and do you believe staycation, or if I can call it workation, is going to be the new in thing?
Thank you, Ruchi. Thanks for having me. I think we all can agree that these are unprecedented times. While I say this, there is still a certain level of uncertainty as well as volatility, given that the pandemic is still at play. But what we're seeing, you would also appreciate, over the last few months and quarters, there is a growing pent-up demand for travel. In fact, that demand has only gotten a little bit more stronger. And I think it goes down to say that, there has always been an innate desire for people to travel, to explore, to connect. And I think what we are seeing now is decades of change happening in a very short period, maybe the last 7-8 months. So there is a fundamental shift in the way we travel, and there is a fundamental shift not only in the way we travel, but also the way we live and the way we work. And the lines between all these three are now blurring. What this pandemic has done primarily has pushed us, and in fact forced all of us to challenge old assumptions as well as look at newer alternatives. And so what we're seeing is that flexibility of working from home is leading to a scenario where people are choosing any home. And what we are seeing is people are now looking for a change in scenery, and so they want to work from a different location, places where it provides them creativity and also inspiration. So there are a number of use cases that we are already seeing that are happening in India. For example, if I were to just pick up the search results of the users on our platform, in the last 3 months, increasingly, a lot of our users, more than 20 to 25% of the searches, are now happening for longer term stays. It basically means people are now wanting to shift to a newer location, immerse into a new culture, and kind of look at amenities that help them stay for a longer period. What we are also seeing, which is a fundamental shift, is that travel is becoming more local and regional. Given that borders are closed, people are now more likely to travel to places which are near to their hometowns. So people don't want to, some people are now traveling, through airplanes, but more people are likely to get into their car and drive for about 200-250 kilometers and look for locations which are near their home stations. And what we are seeing is that travel is now percolating into communities where which were away from the big tourist hotspots in the past. So locations like Gokarna in Karnataka, smaller hill stations in the northern hills are all gaining a lot more popularity.
So let's talk about all of these trends in details. I want to first begin by, asking you, which are the hot favorite destinations? You're saying people are now getting into their cars and probably driving 250 odd kilometers. So which are the top spots, the top destinations?
We are seeing, India is a vast country and there is so much to explore. And I think this pandemic will, they say there is an opportunity in every crisis. So one key opportunity that we believe is that domestic tourism is going to get a big boost, given that a lot of people are now wanting to travel locally and regionally. So what we are seeing is, whether you're in the northern parts of India or southern parts or western, locations that are near to the key big origin, geographies. So for example, down south, we see that Gokarna in Karnataka is gaining a lot more popularity. More people are wanting to go there and then, visit the local culture there. What we are also seeing up north is the hill stations are in big demand these days. So whether it's Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Kasol in Himachal Pradesh is something that is being searched numerous number of times. But I think the sunshine state for India is Goa. We see that there is an increasingly more and more people from across the country are wanting to go to Goa. And I think there is a lot that Goa has to offer as a state. The beaches, etc. And the fact that there is a very rich cultural heritage and many options in terms of accommodation that people want to now stay. What we are seeing, Ruchi, is that this the new trend in travel is that the flexibility of staying and working from any place is basically bringing about different use cases. So, for example, extended families are now coming together and wanting to stay in open places which give them more control over their surroundings. And so places which are in the nature, places in the rural areas, hill stations, there is also growing consciousness around responsible travel. And so more people are now looking at sustainable and regenerative travel choices. And so, farm stays, tree houses, some of the options that are gaining more popularity. So I do believe that travel is getting spread out across multiple cities in India, and the smaller cities and local communities are benefiting from it.
Right. Aman, you were also talking about how immersive experience is something that people are preferring during these times. Given the fact that you can pretty much work out of anywhere, all you need is a Wi-Fi connection perhaps. And what better way to work is, than just sitting and looking at the Himalayas or probably being at a tree house. So just want to understand from you in terms of what are people preferring in terms of their stay experience. Is it tree houses or farm stays, or perhaps the traditional hosts that Airbnb offer?
I think the beauty of Airbnb as a platform is that we have a wide variety of options, whether it's accommodation, and it ranges from whatever you're looking from, unique stays, some of them that you mentioned, like tree houses, farm stays, barns, lodges, campsites, and all of them are now, gaining more popularity. They were always gaining more popularity on our platform, given that we were the only platform that provided such a wide array of these options. But I think what is becoming more important is the time that people have spent in their homes has got them to thinking around some of the experiences that they want to spend and invest more time in. And so people are now moving to places which are closer to the nature, as I said. So we are seeing an increase in searches as well as bookings for places in the outskirts of cities, farm stays, places that also provide an opportunity for them to indulge in experiential activities. A large part of travel in India is led by millennials, given that we have more than 410 million millennials in India, as well as about 230 million urban millennials. And one thing that millennials love is to spend on experiences. So they are more likely to spend more time and resources on experiences than, say, buy products, for example. And what we are seeing is that is now coming to play on Airbnb as well. And on Airbnb, it's not just accommodation. We also have what we call as experiences, where hosts share their passion as well as their skills and bring people into their communities and kind of earn money from it. What we have seen is the moment that there were restrictions on movement, there were restrictions on borders, etc., closures, and people wanted to stay indoors, but the demand to explore and connect did not go away. And we heard that, from the demand of a certain kind from our host. And what we launched was something called online experiences. So today you could be in any place of the world, but you can connect using a Wi-Fi, as you rightly said, and a laptop, and experience someone else's passion, skill set, etc., and travel without stepping out. So I do believe that, there has been a significant shift in consumer preferences. We are seeing the same in India as well. They say there is, an opportunity of creativity in every crisis, and we're definitely seeing that happen in India as well, as more people are now coming online, opening up newer avenues in terms of online experiences, but more people wanting to travel domestically, locally, explore the beautiful that we have. And again, I'll say the benefits of this are now moving away from the tourist hotspots and now, moving towards local communities that are in need from an economic standpoint, but also relating to redistribution of tourism dollars. That is a welcome thing.
In fact, we were hearing Anand Mahindra speak at a platform a couple of days ago, and he said as far as Mahindra Holidays is concerned, they're 80% booked in most of their, their properties. I just want to understand from you in terms of Airbnb, where do things really stand after the pandemic in terms of recovery?
I think what we are seeing is, it may be too early to talk about recovery per se, but what we are seeing is are very encouraging signs, and not just in India but across the globe. Ever since the pandemic began, millions of new users have come on the platform and they've booked accommodation across the world, including in India. And what we've also seen is more than 200,000 hosts have come onto the platform also, opening up their places to kind of bring more travelers into their communities. So the pent up demand, obviously every country is at a different stage in terms of the pandemic. What we are seeing is that India obviously went through the highs and peaks a few months ago, but the demand travel, at least the inspiration for it could be seen in the search travel trends on the platform, but we are now seeing recovery happening in terms of real bookings as well. So I would not go into the specifics of the numbers per se, but I can say that very encouraging signs on domestic travel, very encouraging signs on regional, local travel. And the good part is that it is not restricted to 10, 15 top tourist hotspots. It is now percolating to more than 100 cities across India.
Right. In terms of, the most sought after amenities, talk to us about what is it that people want. You were talking about that they definitely want a Wi-Fi connection because, they're looking to work as well remotely. But besides that, what is it that consumers want during these times, of course, apart from cleanliness and a Wi-Fi connection?
So I think at this point, in terms of consumer preference, safety, hygiene, cleanliness is on the top. In terms of priority. And I think to that extent, what we did was something very unique. We launched an enhanced cleanliness protocol in India, which was created primarily keeping in mind hosts like you and me, etc., common people who are sharing their homes as well as unique accommodation, and then kind of help them with overarching standards of sanitization and cleaning guidelines, etc. This protocol was created in consultation with with leading medical experts, including the ex-US Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy in the US, and it was also validated by the Indian Medical Association. So safety around hygiene, cleanliness is one of the topmost priority, and that we are seeing. In fact, all hosts on Airbnb are now going to attest to this cleanliness protocol to provide that peace of mind to the guests coming in. So that's number one. Wi-Fi is a necessity now, giving the flexibility of work from home. More and more people are now looking for places that are connected with a broadband connection. And I think they are finding more of these places across India. So that's a good sign. But apart from that, what we're seeing is people are, as I said, people are looking for longer term accommodation. And so amenities that foster or help any kind of a stay in the long term, for example, a full-fledged kitchen, for example, amenities that provide larger groups of people to kind of stay together, which is basically extended families. So pools, gardens, and experiences near their accommodation are some that are gaining a lot more popularity. So the choice of destination is definitely changing in terms of people wanting to explore the explored areas in the past near their cities, and wanting a break from their surroundings. The other amenity and anything that kind of fosters a longer term stay, like a home away from home, is something that is gaining more popularity right now. I also said more people are now taking much more responsible and conscious travel choices, and so places closer to the nature, places that give them the opportunity to indulge in the local culture in a very safe and connected manner is something that they're looking for. What we've also seen is that obviously places that provide more control to people in terms of their surroundings is gaining more popularity. So entire homes, villas, etc. are gaining more popularity. In fact, the search for old Portuguese villas in Goa is also increasing. So more people are bringing together the need for an experiential kind of an experience, and a more immersive cultural experience, along with the safety, etc., that an entire home could provide them.
Right. At one point of time, I remember Airbnb, when I was speaking to the top management of Airbnb, they had told me that India is among the top 5 markets. But then, of course, COVID hit. Where do things really stand now? I just want to understand from you in terms of 6 months post-COVID, where does India stand in the larger scheme of things for Airbnb?
So India continues to be one of the fastest growing, places or countries in terms of growing our community here, and we are committed to ensuring that continues even post-COVID. What you would have also heard Brian talk about this a few weeks ago is that India is a long-term market, and there is a long-term horizon in which we look at India, and we are strongly committed to growing our community of users as well as hosts, and making sure that more Indians get access to authentic local experiences made available through our platform. So I think nothing changes on that front. In fact, what's going to happen is that with a boost towards domestic tourism, we believe that a large part of our business in the past also was domestic, as well as it was growing in a very significant at a very significant growth rate, and I think that will only continue to grow even faster. If you look at some of the impact that Airbnb as a platform has, kind of created within India, there was a recent report by Oxford Economics, which talked about the economic impact to the tune of almost $320 million that was generated because of activities on Airbnb in 2019. A large part of it was the amount of money that people spend, the guests spend on, local artisans, local food, local, shops, etc. And also obviously going to the local hosts in terms of who provided their accommodation services. So we continue to believe that India would be a strong contributor towards the Airbnb business, but I think more importantly, it continues to be a very strong opportunity from a growth perspective in the future.
Right, and while you're talking about that, help us understand in terms of, given the fact that there are two fears. On one hand, there is a growing concern about low discretionary spends, weak consumer confidence. How is that going to play out? And of course, on the other hand, the fear of a resurgence of COVID cases, because if you look at what's happening in Europe, we're seeing a second wave that could lead to a shutdown. In fact, that is leading to a shutdown in many cities. How big a fear really is that, Aman?
I think, as I said, there is significant amount of uncertainty and volatility that continues to be at play here. The other thing is, no company or no CEO can have a playbook to kind of deal with a pandemic like this. And we all are learning as we kind of get into each week. What I can say is that we have to put safety and the well-being of the community first, and that is what we are more than committed to doing that even in the future. So we always ensure that we let our community of guests and hosts know to make sure that they're following local guidelines from the health regulators, from the policymakers, as well as local guidelines around any kind of movement, to ensure that they're making informed and responsible choices. We also cannot let go of precautions that are extremely important even today, whether it's wearing masks, whether it is maintaining social distancing, or even washing hands, etc. So we will continue to focus on hygiene as well as safety of the community, and that's where the enhanced cleanliness protocol that we've launched even in India is of extreme importance to us. That gives peace of mind to the users that this is something that the hosts are attesting to, and they're bringing it when they're going into the stay. So we no one has an answer, and there is no right answer to this, but there is always a possibility. What we know is that as people have stayed indoors, there is a growing pent-up demand for travel. What is going to happen now is that you rightly said, as more people are turning to a more savings conscious play, what we see is that people are going to look for affordable choices. But affordability does not mean that they're going to expect less on quality or value. And I think that's where a platform like Airbnb is able to provide a wide range of options at all price points. The other thing I would say is that, if you'll go back in history, Airbnb was born during a recession. And it is very important to understand that what Airbnb does, it provides opportunities for micro entrepreneurs to not only showcase the beautiful country and the hospitality that they have to offer, but it also provides them an opportunity to earn additional income with assets that they already have, which is a space that they may have which is underutilized, or the passion or the skills or time that they have by becoming experienced hosts. So in times like today, I think revival of tourism, not only in India but other parts of the world as well, is going to be something that all stakeholders have to come together, whether it's the government, whether it's the the health officials, whether it's the industry players, whether it's airlines, accommodation service providers like us, or even the guest and the host community. We all have to work together. It's going to take a bit of an effort in terms of the mindset to change, but I think I'll go back to the fundamentals of it, right? The innate desire for people to continue to travel, to continue to connect, to continue to explore is not going to go anywhere. In fact, it's only going to get stronger. what is going to happen is it's going to manifest into different preferences. We have seen significant change in the past 5 months or so in terms of consumer behavior, and whether it is digital penetration, whether it is more things remotely. I do believe that within the crisis, there will be creative options that come up that meet the price points that people are looking for. And I think Airbnb is well suited to kind of cater to those needs and work back with local governments to ensure that tourism is revived.
On that note, that was, of course, Amanpreet Bajaj in conversation with ET Now. Aman, appreciate you taking your time out and speaking with us here at ET Now. And here's hoping that 2021 is a better year for the entire travel and hospitality industry. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of ET Now. Many thanks for watching.